Hi, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. All right, a lot of stuff going on. Number one, Brandon, I ask you this question. People have been wanting me to give you a pay raise. If I gave you a $1,000 pay raise, would you say, if I gave Brandon a $1,000 pay raise, would you take it?
Of course I'd take it. Very happily.
Mike, you sitting in here. You may join in this conversation. He said he'd take a $1,000 raise. You mean to tell me you wouldn't be upset if I gave you that?
No, not at all.
Why?
I certainly wouldn't complain that it wasn't enough.
If you're a teachers union and they say a $1,000 raise, they say it ain't enough.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about what I'm telling you. Mr. GM, you want to join us or you want to stay out of this one? No, seriously. Mike, you can maybe join now. I got you stuck in it. No, seriously, if you offered me a $1,000 raise and I said, Mike, let's say I'm playing the employee here, and I said, I appreciate that, but that ain't enough. I don't want it. Would you?
See ya.
Would you fire somebody for that?
Well,
I
wouldn't fire him, but I'd take him off the list.
we threw this at Mike earlier in the program. He said, what? He said Brandon had already done that, to be honest with you. But, Mike, if you think about that, though, you're an employer, you know with our economy in Louisiana, I mean, everybody's trying to get over the top, and to give somebody a pay raise, for them to say, that's good, but that's not nearly enough. And I'm sitting here going, whatever happened to thank you? I'm not saying they should kiss you, but I'm just saying, I said, man, thank you so much. You just said, I think enough for you, even with what's going on. I'm getting ready to help you out. And by the way, I'm not saying this represents all teachers. Right. Because this is unions. And I told people for a long time, unions are about money. Right. Unions are not about the kids and education. Unions are about money. Right. But I just thought, you being an employer, and I really don't have employees. I mean, Brandon is really not my employee. But in your case, I just wondered if you walked in, people listening to this program in a business would go, I'm giving raises, here's $1,000. Who would tell somebody that's not enough?
The union?
Well, that's a good point. But I get a little frustrated when we watch that, because here we are in a state that has had struggles with money. 2 months ago, before July 1st, we were the brokest state in the country. And all of a sudden, we got money to pass out and give to people. It just frustrates me to look at that, because I thought about the private sector. Me and you don't live in that world. I know. I work here. I see everybody busting their butt. And every penny counts, Mike. I think you'd agree with me on
it. Yes, it does.
And so if you can look up and say, you know what, we're going to give pay raises, and you walked around this building, I'm not cutting anybody the building, but you walked around and most people were happy. You find a couple of people go, man, that's just not enough, Mike. You would look at them a little differently.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think anybody, and I would assume teachers would be in this bucket also, that it's been a long time since anybody's had a raise.
I know.
In any industry. I don't care what industry you're in. More money doesn't come that often.
Not right now. Not right now.
Yeah.
We like everybody else, we look for better times, and when times are good, that's when you do this.
Right.
But I'm just disappointed when you read the headline, Teachers Union wanted a $1,000 pay raise, not enough. And I'm going, whoa, that's $80, $90 a month that you can put back in a savings account. You can pay for gas, maybe to help your grocery bill. Right. Maybe you don't go out and eat much. Maybe that once a month you can you know what I'm saying? There's a little bit of good there. And maybe it's not the $6,000 pay raise, but let's be blunt. You don't give $6,000 pay raises every day.
Right.
Nobody does.
No.
I was trying to get it from the perspective of a business guy, that when, and you know as well as I know, around the state, times have not been great, not to appreciate every little bit. I had a buddy of mine tell me it's like wee in the ocean. Every little bit helps. By the way, let me throw another thing with the teachers. I thought you'd like that. But with teachers, that means more retirement money too.
That's true.
Okay, so let's flip it over that. The unfunded accrued liability is $21 to $22 billion in the hole right now. That affects that. So when you start looking at, now look at big picture. I'm not looking at just a little picture.
Yeah.
$1,000 may look like a little picture to somebody, but in the big picture, somebody just got a little bit more appreciation for what they're doing in their job.
Well, and I think a lot of us saw it with President Trump's tax cut. We all of a sudden saw a little bit more money in our paycheck. And, hey, it wasn't that much, but it was only there once because the state took that back. So,
that's the funny thing about it. Everybody, when they got the pay raise, say, hey, this is neat. And the next paycheck, they say, what happened to it?
Right.
And it went to the state, and that's the frustrating thing about it for me doing what I'm doing is, we were broke 3 months ago. I mean, we were broke. I had people from hospitals come in here and say, well, I ain't got no money. And all of a sudden, pay raises and things like that. Don't forget, Mike, that the state not only will get, me and you talked about this before, but they're getting ready to get the internet sales tax starting in January. Yeah. And me and you talked about this before. We talked a little bit about, that's not a bad idea because I'm not talking about I'm talking about the sales tax on the internet sales tax, but if you go around the businesses, you deal with businesses every day just like I do. You deal with a lot more of them. And companies here are paying the freight for the roads, through the taxes through us. And if you're buying something instead of going to your bricks and mortar out of state, you don't have that money coming in.
Right.
And but what I don't want them to do, I want them to do the things they need to do with it, not the things they want to do with it. And there's a big difference. Because I know you run a tight ship here, and you do things you need to do. You do the want-to-dos when the money's there.
Right. I think everybody does that.
Yeah, from a business perspective.
Right. But, we've sat here, Moon, and we've doubled the state budget in the last less than 10 years.
Oh, yeah. It's unbelievable.
And it's just unbelievable.
But when you look at their budget and you look at what you face every day, and I'm talking about business, not necessarily Town Square, but the business, I mean, it's when you see something like that, you go, how can they do that, but we can't? And we produce all the tax revenue. It's just a little frustrating to me when I watch this sometimes. So, by the way, the reason I brought Mike in here was to tell him if you want to give me and Brandon $1,000 pay raise. We thanking you in advance.
Like I said, Brandon already had his shot.
You see when people call in and ask Brandon me to give him a pay raise, if it's only $1,000 according to Mike, he gonna tell me, no, that's not enough.
Man. I'll look up the information for you and you throw me under the bus. I give you a topic and you throw me under the bus.
Well, Brandon, but here's the thing. I threw you under the bus, but I hadn't started the engine and run over. I'll let Mike do that. All right, Mike. God bless, man. Thank you so much. All right, 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. By the way, off the record, I don't have $1,000 to give you for a pay raise. You weren't going to take it anyway. All right, 844. Anyway, this is true. Teachers Union, $1,000 pay raise, not enough. By the way, I didn't say teachers wouldn't take it. And by the way, they make the comment, we would take it. But the last significant raise we got was 2007, $2,300 pay raise for teachers and $1,000 for the paraprofessionals. And probably a good place to start this conversation. So they want to start the conversation at $2,300. Cool. Bram, I'm reading what they're saying. Cool. This is unions. LAT President Larry Carter expressed support for 2 to 3 year plan to obtain the $2,200 pay raise.
Something tells me that's not how you say his last name.
I know. It's Carter. Carter.
Yeah.
Carter. The Louisiana Federation of Teachers also called for increased salary for support workers and higher funding for public education. A $1,850 pay raise put out by another Republican, Nancy Landry, would cost the state $105 million. If you throw in support personnel, cafeteria workers, principals, by the way, principals all make six figures, just about $170 million a year. Hey, we got it, man. What's $170 million when you load it up? By the way, there was a comment from the Edwards office. Well, with the economy getting better, this is what amazes me. With the economy getting better, we wouldn't have to raise taxes. Wow, that's the first time I ever heard it come out of the governor's people. We wouldn't have to raise taxes. Well, you shouldn't have to raise taxes. You got $6.3 billion. It's not counting the internet tax that you're going to start getting in January. So any uptick in the thing, you see what they do? We spin it. We spin it. When you spin it, you have to spend more to maintain it. I wish this concept could get in the thoughts and minds of people. Okay? Here's another comment. Landon said $1,000 would be appreciated. Oh, really? Well, that's so kind of y'all. It wouldn't be enough to substantially affect teachers' quality of life. Well, Brandon, you know what? We've been working in the radio business and the economy. We know people that lost all their job and got cuts. And anybody gets a pay raise, they ought to appreciate it. But in these people, it's not a matter if they're going to get a pay raise, Brandon. It's not if. It's when. And it's election year. They're playing politics with us again. And I'm not saying it's teachers. Teachers' unions. Any kind of organization is about the money. Okay? Landon says a recent study. Here's where teachers come in, Brandon. Landon says a recent survey of an organization indicated widespread support for a potential strike if teachers do not receive an adequate pay bump and increase funding for public schools. Here we go. We're going to go out there and protest. We're going to go out there and strike. And the average teacher salary, Brandon, say it again. You read where you got the information from.
Oh, Louisiana Radio Network?
Yeah. And what did they say? 49,800.
49,800. Average.
Yeah, please say that.
Not every teacher gets that.
No.
It's the average.
It's the average. Louisiana Associated Education president says her organization is seeking $1,200 year raise for teachers as well as establishment of living wages for support personnel. They are looking for at least the ability to provide for their families and maintain the middle-class status that is very quickly eroded away. But if you take the money from us and you go give it to all the public employees, it's going to erode ours away. Most said there's been a active conversation with the governor's office. If you want to buy our votes, this is what you have. No, they don't say that, but that's what they mean. Active conversation about getting the raise, but notes that they're looking for more than just a pay bump. She says they're also demanding an increase in public school funding. Education funding in general, not just salaries, but resources we put into the classroom, has been frozen for over 10 years. Listen, let me explain this to teachers or teachers, spouses, anybody that wants to listen to the truth. If you have a vibrant economy, if you make the economy the important thing at the top, not government, not teachers' pay, when the economy booms, you have money to pay teachers. If you keep paying teachers by raising taxes like Edwards did, and Jay Norton, don't forget, and all the Democrats and a few weak-minded Republicans, all you're going to ever get is problems because your private sector is not going to take off and do well. And that's what they won't understand. If you do it my way, we boom the economy, there's plenty of money. Ask the people in Midland, Texas. Ask them how much extra money's in government to do this kind of stuff. All you got to do is ask. Let's go to Mike in Lafayette. Mike, how you doing?
Oh, fine. Two things on teachers and their pay and their strikes. Years ago, they started a program in Louisiana for teachers to keep the theoretically good teachers from retiring. They created the drop program, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but if I'm a teacher and I make $50,000 and I've got 30 years of service, I can enter the drop program, work 3 more years just doing the same thing I was doing. They pay me my $50,000 and drop $50,000 in my retirement each of those 3 years.
Yeah.
Well, the program's been around forever. We're still the number, 50 in education, or 49, and they're still dropping 50,000 or 60,000, whatever a year, in the teachers that want to do it after 30 years. Number two, like you said, if they want to strike, and we're already, 49th, 50th in education, well, how could their strike possibly hurt us?
Yeah. You're right. Let me go. Thanks for the call. Teachers Union, $1,000 per pay raise, not enough. That, of course, average teacher salary, $49,800. National average is $58,000. By the way, me and Brandon didn't make those numbers up. Louisiana Radio Network is reporting it. This is what the state says our salary is. If you want to argue with anybody about teachers' pay raise, I suggest you argue with them. I'll say it again. I said it before. I think it's pathetic the way they use teachers as political pawns. Why didn't they go for the pay raise in Bel Edwards' first year? Why didn't they go for pay raises in Bel Edwards' second year? Why didn't they go for pay raises in Bel Edwards' third year? Oh, the fourth year re-election. That's when we go for it. Let's make it a political issue.
I just hope people remember these words next year when it comes time for the budget and we're talking about teacher pay raises and we're talking about potentially raising more taxes on people. Remember these words.
There won't have to be a tax increase for that because the economy is going to take care of the additional revenues.
That's Edwards Educational Policy Advisor Donald Sanji.
Actually, it's not the economy's going to take care of it because we haven't moved yet. It's the tax increases are going to take care of it. The internet sales taxes. It's taxes, Brandon, any way you look at it.
Yeah, but do you trust that we're not going to be in a position next year where even with the internet sales taxes?
Here's what they'll do, Brandon. It's election year. You won't hear Bill Edwards talk about a tax at all. He won't answer. Bill Edwards, this is a great question. Are you going to if you were reelected, are you going to raise taxes? I bet he says, no, our goal is not to raise taxes. Hey, sounds good, don't it, Brandon? I don't have any intention of raising taxes. Sounds good. Oh, if you don't have any intention, you didn't have any intention when you came in. And that's, if you had to think of one word to describe Bill Edwards for his 3 years, what would be the word?
Taxes.
Taxes. I mean, I think
taxes and Medicaid. You got to think about Medicaid expansion.
Well, but you got to understand something. Medicaid works off of our taxes, our tax base. It works off. It's still associated. But I agree with you. Medicaid, that's a word you can use. But taxes, to me, is what comes out the top. So he runs for re-election to do what? When you got to brag that the Medicaid money and the billions that you're receiving is economic development, Brandon, you're losing the argument. So the government gives you money and you create jobs. How do you maintain that? It's an incredible thing to continue to watch when they do this. I don't know if y'all saw this. Anyway, the pay raise, using teachers the way they use them, I think is just unbelievable that we allow them to use teachers. I mean, unbelievable. But they do. By the way, there's a group threatened Senator Collins of Maine with a $1.3 million donation to her opponent if she doesn't vote for Kavanaugh. That's right. There's a deal out there, independent group out there that are telling people, give us the money, and if she votes for Kavanaugh, we're going to spend your money to beat her. If she votes to crush Kavanaugh, we'll give you your money back.
You know what I think is interesting about that?
That's incredible.
Normally in a race with Democrats and Republicans, normally Democrats spend money against a Republican anyway.
Well, I know that.
Did you ever think about that and just how much of a moderate she really is?
No doubt about it. But the thing about it is, though, Brandon, I'll just quote her one time. We take a phone call. She said, she emphasizes effort will not influence my vote at all, adding, I think it demonstrates the new lows to which the judge's opponents have stooped. So in other words, the Democrats.
Yes, but you notice she's not calling them out by name, though.
She's not calling out by name, but the good news is it looks like to me they got her voting for Kavanaugh.
Democrats
I don't think any Republicans have come out against Kavanaugh. The only three there were, this is one of them, the lady from Alaska.
Murkowski,
and then Flake.
Yep.
Flake worried me from Arizona, but I don't even think he's a worry anymore. All right, Joyce in Lafayette. How you doing, Joyce?
Well, I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing fine.
I wanted to say thank you to Congressman Clay Higgins, because he's a man with common sense, which is rare in Washington, D.C. He and John Kennedy and a few others share that, but he's a man that really stands firm, and he stands firm. He's not afraid to speak out, and I just wish we had more people like him that really stand for what the people want, you know. I don't think it's easy to do up there. I also wanted to talk to you about the teacher pay raise, because for Louisiana, I just looked it up. We're still rated 49th in the nation in education. Mm-hmm. There's something wrong with this picture, and I'm not blaming.
By the way, Joyce, if you'd have looked
as the system,
if you'd have looked it up 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we were right in that same number.
Right, we've been there since time began, I think.
Absolutely.
But you know, I don't blame the teachers as much as I blame the system, and I'm not sure what, but something needs to change before you just go and give across the board raises, as we all know. That's not the way private business does it. And I believe that the teachers of old, I'm not, and I don't want to put any teacher down. I think their heart is in the correct place, but I think they need a little bit more leeway in the classroom, and they need a lot more more discipline.
Why didn't the unions go for pay raises Bel Edwards' first, second, or third year? Because it's not an election year.
Right. Well, that's. Are we still here?
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what I have to say. I'd like a pay raise too. My husband's been retired for several years, and we live off of our retirement and investments that we can make. But when they say prices are going up, yes, they go up for retired people too. Yep. And it's time for us to get a pay raise. But we have to work.
We did get one. Donald Trump sent it, and Edwards intercepted it. Being football season, Trump threw the bomb to us. Here it comes, and Bel Edwards stepped in front of it and intercepted it all the way to the Capitol. Got to go, Joyce, only because of time. God bless. Thank you. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. President Trump still speaking. If you want to go catch that, you can. Congressman Clay Higgins joins us. Congressman, how you doing?
I'm good, Moon. How are you, sir? Good to be here.
I am doing super. Short period. I'm hoping you can stay at least one more segment.
Yes, sir.
After the top of the hour. But just your thoughts on 9/11. You weren't there at the time, but you were here. And you watched this all take place, and you heard the president's eloquent words about what this flight 93 did.
It's a day that touched us all, and I remember clearly. All of us remember where we were, what we were doing, and it's engraved upon my heart and spirit forever and ever. I think that our nation changed on that day. We became a country that was aware of the levels of evils that have been plotting against us at that time. And until then, we were rather insulated, were we not, from the realities of attack. And since then, we know it. And some of us still remember. Unfortunately, there are portions of America that would choose to forget that Islamic terror is real, and that we're the primary target along with our ally Israel. So
yeah, it's amazing. The former President Obama, he would not say terrorism. He would not say Islamic terrorism.
He would not say Islamic terrorism.
That's what people ought to be amazed about, that he did what he did.
Well, he was a master at painting false pictures, and that included the nature of the jihadist Islamic threat across the world. But we're not playing anymore, man. We have a president that gets it. A large portion of Americans understand, and today is a day we should all truly reflect upon the heroism that existed that day, and what kind of a nation that has been born from that attack. We're stronger. We're more resolved. We understand that the threat is real, and we intend to conquer it.
I knew the president got it because of his stance on the border. You just can't let anybody and everybody come into this country. There are people here that don't like us, that hate us, and you just don't let people in like that. You let people in that come in the right way, that are qualified to come in, that qualify under our laws to come in. That's why you shouldn't have an open door policy, open border policy. And that's what the former president never got, because I don't think he wanted to get that. And the people that believe just open the borders, let people come in, you're being racist, bigoted because you don't want people to come in. That's not what we're talking about. And I thought he got that from day one.
Yeah, I agree, Moon. President Trump understood that a sovereign nation cannot stand without sovereign borders, and we have to enforce our existing immigration laws, keeping in mind that America is the most compassionate and generous country on earth regarding immigration. But, we do have laws. We should enforce them. And, of course, none of your listeners have an open border policy at their house and their property. If you walk in your house and see somebody in your living room, you damn well want to know who it is.
I didn't think about that, but you ought to the left ought to do that. They can never have a lock on a door or window.
Yeah. No gate on the driveway.
No, and if they get
just
home,
let them in, man.
If they get home and there's 7 people in there eating your food and laying around watching a football game, you ought to say, hey, how y'all doing? Don't worry about it. They're not going to hurt you.
Right.
But that's a good point because think about if they did that. And then once they prove to us that nothing will happen to them, we'll do the same thing.
Right. Well, we have a responsibility to maintain the sovereignty of our country for generations yet to come, just as our forefathers did. And for many, many generations, a soft border with Mexico worked just fine. There were times when, throughout history when we could travel to and fro, but the point is the southern border with Mexico has become criminalized. So when you have 100% of the territory controlled by criminal cartels, then you can't have a soft border anymore. You have to enforce your existing laws. That's the reality of where we are. Anyone that doesn't get that is not being intellectually sound.
When we come back, I want you to stay on 117 because it wasn't fair to you. We were doing President Donald Trump as Representative Congressman Clay Higgins. Of course, he's in trying to be reelected too as well. We'll get to that in the next segment. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. Don't go nowhere. Be back in about 7 minutes. Hi, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Good to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. If you'd like to be part of the program, Senator Bill Cassidy joins us coming out of the 10:30 break. We was with him a little bit about 9/11, some other stuff as well. We have Congressman Clay Higgins, my special guest, who is running for re-election. I mean, election's right around.
Yes, sir.
You know what's amazing here? I can't talk about other states, but there's been no movement from anybody all over the state dealing with any elections. I just find that amazing. In a congressional races, no movement, but there's a statewide race, no movement, very little movement. I think one of the guys, Orange Man's already advertising with us, but not a lot of movement with anybody for us getting out there and running. But I know you're running.
Right. Well,
I know you're out there.
I'm standing my ground.
Yeah.
The other guys are running, Moon. Yeah. We're standing our ground and we're standing strong. But the Louisiana delegation works together so well. Myself and my conservative colleagues, Mike Johnson and Ralph Abraham, Steve Scalise, Garrett Graves, we work together very well in service of Louisiana and America. We help each other with legislation. We're well dispersed across committees. So the power of our delegation has become greater than the sum of our parts, if that makes sense. We're a force multiplier for each other.
Might be the Speaker of the House, too.
Right, he could be. He has the support of many of us, but Steve respects chain of command and seniority, and the Republican conference is much more united and organized than the mainstream media would want America to believe. So the bottom line is your congressional delegation is strong. Around,
not only here, but around the country.
Right.
We can sit here and look at polls and look here and tell you what the press tells you. You can just watch and see what happens. Just wait and see. People got to go vote. Right. And then we'll wait and see what happens. Does the House feel like they're going to just automatically give it to the Democrats? I don't see that.
Well, listen, we're in a battle, of course, I believe, for a large portion of the soul of America. It's fascinating how just when you think the Democratic Party can't move further to the left, they do. And America's paying attention. So we believe that we'll maintain majority in the House. We could lose, my people tell me we could lose 8, 10 to 12 seats, but still maintain a majority. However, what's significant is that the center of ideological belief of the Republican conference in the People's House, even with a slimmer majority, the center of ideology will move to the right. It's just the nature of the landscape right now. They feel like they're going to
pick up the Republicans and pick up a few in the Senate.
We think we could pick up 3 or 4 seats in the Senate. And that'll actually make a bicameral, bipartisan Congress easier to navigate because we'll find a way to get to a yes in the House. The problem has been the Senate.
Sure.
We've still accomplished great things, tax reform, major tax reform, first time you've seen in 40, 50 years that America's winning again and hard-working Americans get to keep more of our money. Business is booming, 4.2% GDP growth in the second quarter, being revised upward. They're looking at projections as high as 4.7% for the third quarter. You haven't heard numbers like that. In my lifetime, quite frankly, I haven't seen it. But we have confidence that we'll maintain a majority in the People's House, Moon, and we believe we could pick up 3 or 4 seats in the Senate. And that'll make for a very navigable landscape in D.C., to advance the conservative agenda and the Trump agenda.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Congressman Clay Higgins is my special guest. No, something we briefed him on before I went to the break. The president, I read the other day, says he's going to build a wall through the military budget. The wall is important to him. I know we got a budget battle at the end of the month that you guys are going to have to come up with a budget battle. Can he do this? Number one, will he do it, or will the Congress come along and say, hey, we're going to help you build that wall?
Well, many of us in Congress support the permanent structures that are needed across the southern border, and different Americans have different concepts of what a wall is and what it looks like. But the bottom line is our intention is to give border security everything that it needs, including permanent structures, and that includes wall structures, wherever it needs it in order to secure our southern border. And the president is committed to that 1,000%. And he has authorization as a commander-in-chief and the leader of the executive branch. The president of the United States has the authority to use that money from DOD if he believes it's a matter of national security, which indeed it is. You know, we have a very porous southern border. You got criminals coming across. You got drugs coming across. Sex trafficking is coming across. So it's our responsibility to stop that stuff at the border.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Congressman Clay Higgins, my special guest. You know, Clay, big vote coming up because y'all got another budget vote. How do you think that's going? The president said he was not going to give in on a budget vote again unless he got the wall, and that he was not going to overspend. How's that going to play out in Congress?
Right,
and will it play out in an election as well? Because I think the vote's at the end of September, not the end of October, right?
No, right. No, we're voting now. We're doing appropriations bills now, and our job is to pass appropriations bills through committee, through the House, as conservative an appropriations bill as we can possibly get to a yes on, which means gradually decreasing deficit spending, which is what we're doing, in order to move those bills to the Senate, where, you know, ultimately Congress passes a budget. But we are a bipartisan, bicameral Congress. And the president's goal is echoes our own sentiment out of my office, and the most conservative of my colleagues agree that we need to get to a balanced budget. This is crucial for the future of our country, and and you cannot do it just by cutting discretionary spending. And the math is not there. You have to grow the economy, man. That's the key. You have to grow revenue by growing the economy.
But that's doing to getting record money in. And when we see we got record revenue coming in for somebody like me, I'm going, come on, man, we ought to be able to do something with the budget. We got record revenue, but we also have record spending. And they got to go, if you lowered the spending and revenue went up, it ought to balance everything out quite nicely.
Well, the discretionary spending is what we have control over, and we are decreasing that. But that's only about 20% of the entire federal budget.
Medicare and Social Security takes a lot of money.
You have mandatory spending.
How about the debt that you have to pay the interest on the debt every month?
We have to service the debt. That's non-discretionary spending. We have to do that. I'm telling you. About between 75 and 80% of the total expenditures of the federal government are non-discretionary spending. So you listen, we can eliminate 100% of discretionary spending. You'd still have deficit spending. We have to grow the economy.
Well, you got to grow the economy, but you got to also find a way to start getting people off the dole. I'm not talking about Social Security recipients unless they're getting it and never deserved it because they never paid in it.
Yeah, well,
you know, they took Social Security before you ever got there and started finding out ways to give out more money to more people, disability and things of that nature.
You know what's really sad about that, Moon, is that America has shifted towards a culture of dependency, which is quite contrary to the fabric of our republic and how we were born. You know, what we're made of, what our founding fathers envisioned, and what all of our what our families have taught us through the decades and a couple of centuries here. Is that hard work is its own reward, and that what belongs to you, and belongs to him. And then, so the very fact that we're having a conversation that America has in many ways become a culture of dependency is quite sad. We've got to flip that culturally. We have to grow the economy. We're certainly growing the economy right now. Under the conservative leadership and that of our president.
If you, by the way, this does not focus on you. This has been going on before you ever got there.
Right.
And let's just take a simple number, $1,000. If the $1,000 is what you're spending, and the economy grows that 1,000 to 1,200, and you spend 1,300, you have a problem.
Yeah, you got a problem.
And that's what's been going on. It's the simple math. That's the part an average person like me goes, hold up just a second. The economy's saying we got record numbers. Congress ought to be able to say, look, guys, we're not growing any budget. This is what we're going to do. We're going to maintain what we have and start cutting things that we don't no longer need to spend money on. Yeah. And that's got to be done eventually by Congress.
I support the balanced budget amendment. I voted for it last year. I pushed for it to return to the floor. It did not pass. But I do support a balanced budget amendment to our Constitution.
Yeah, well, that's something I think is going to be inevitable if we're to change things in the direction we're going to find. Because once you hit a problem in the economy, which I don't see that happening anytime soon, but if you hit a problem in the economy, all that spending, that's how we get in real trouble.
That's right.
Debt. I mean, we ran up $10 trillion worth of debt under Barack Obama. It was only $10 trillion from George Washington to George Bush. That's a problem.
It's incredible, man. Look what we're spending overseas. America gives billions and billions of dollars to countries overseas that many of them hate us, and in my opinion, they can hate us for free.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, just a few seconds left. What do you want to tell the voters?
And to your listeners, God bless you one and all. We have an important election in November. I believe that we can maintain majority in the House. I humbly ask you for your support. I am your servant and shall continue to be as long as the people of South Louisiana want me serving.
Well, the vote will come in November, and it's interesting the way we're set up. If it's nobody wins the majority, I'm not talking about your election, but any of them, then you have a runoff in December.
Right.
All right,
but we're going to win. We're going to win soundly. We're going to win on the first vote.
All right. Congressman Higgins, thank you, man. God bless. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Senator Bill Cassidy joins. Bill, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Moon. How are you?
I am doing super. By the way, Kavanaugh, I thought that was ridiculous what the Democrats try to do to him. But I got to believe, is every Republican on board now to vote for him? Do you know that, folks?
I think every Republican is. I haven't spoken to them all, but I'm thinking he is an incredible candidate. I mean, even jurists on the left are saying that he is worthy to be nominated. One person, she says, my liberal friends will hate me, but this guy is a superstar. Now, that's the jurist. It is the people running from president from the left who are being absurd, lying about him, putting out videos that have been edited to make him look bad. I can't help that. But, they're making themselves look bad by going after Kavanaugh in this way. But he's going to get approved. I'm almost certain of it.
Well, I just figured you would know if there was a Republican or two holdout. It looks like Collins is going to be in. The only other one I thought about was Murkowski out of Alaska. And then the other one would be Flake out of Arizona. He was kind of a smart aleck. He don't like Trump, and that's the only three that I thought had any kind of chance at all of going against him.
Flake doesn't like Trump, but he likes Kavanaugh, and I haven't talked to Collins or Murkowski directly about it, but everything they've said publicly is that they're going to be supportive, and I think at the end we'll get 5 or 6 Democrats, mainly because they're running for re-election in states that Trump is incredibly popular, and so they're going to vote against Kavanaugh at their electoral risk.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, I feel like it's done. When will a vote take place? Senator, will it take place next week? It'll be a little closer to the end of the month.
They announced it that'll be by the end of this month because they want him seated for the beginning of the new term.
Yeah. Wow. All right,
the new Supreme Court term. Court term.
Well, good. I was hoping they'd go ahead and vote on it. I mean, all the words and the mouthing is in. I just was hoping they would go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I think they will. And by the way, you knew it was going to happen before the midterms because Mitch McConnell absolutely wants all those voters in West Virginia, Indiana, and other states to understand, Joe Manchin and Joe Donnelly say they're with Trump, or they really with Trump.
Yeah.
Or they with Chuck Schumer.
Yeah.
And so it was always going to be before the midterm because McConnell just wanted to make that point known to all.
Do you still feel like, I won't go to the House with you, still feel like the Senate's going to pick up 3 or 4 seats?
I'm more optimistic about it than I was before.
Okay.
But we've got some seats like Tennessee and Tennessee, which has always been Republican since 1990, and which right now the Democrats are ahead. But on the other hand, in Arizona, Mark McSally, our latest poll, she's up 1 point over the Democrats. She had been behind. I think Dean Heller does okay in Nevada. I think we will pick up 2 to 3.
Yeah, what about that? I believe you're going to pick up the Senate seat in Florida. And
I agree.
I got to believe Cruz is going to be okay in Texas. I've seen a lot of things that is really a close race, which shocks me a little bit, to be honest with you.
Well, except I saw something recently that Beto O'Rourke is getting an F from the NRA, and he's bragging about it.
Wow.
Now, wait a second. You're in Texas, and you're bragging about getting an F from the NRA.
That's a great.
Maybe that works in Austin.
Yeah. That's a. I hope he keeps bragging about that.
Oh, totally.
But you don't think
so,
you don't think Cruz is in trouble, there, do you?
I think it's going to be tighter than it should be, but I think Cruz wins.
Yeah. Senator Bill Cassidy, my special guest. Senator, you got legislation this week on the opioid crisis. What is that supposed to do?
Yeah, we got a lot of things in that bill, but it'll be a big package going through on opioids and to help prevent. And it's part of a string of bills that we've passed. Some of the things that I have in there or have already passed it is, for example, giving the state more information to figure out if a treatment center that, say, Medicaid pays for is worthwhile, or whether it's just a place that grabs a check and that someone comes out and they're no more likely to be off their addiction than they were before. We're giving tools to the states to allow them to know kind of on a real-time basis where prescriptions are being filled. There's some people that'll doctor shop, get 4 or 5 prescriptions, 4 or 5 docs, go to 4 or 5 pharmacies all in one day, and they sell some of the pills. They sell all the pills. That's just the way they make money. So we're giving the states tools so that they can be able to get that information. Also to share with law enforcement. If somebody is doing that, Louisiana is very much on the leading edge of this, but other states, they don't really allow these databases that follow how much people are getting to share with law enforcement. We're trying to change that too, so law enforcement knows just who the bad actors. We got lots of stuff that sum up.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So anyway, so you think something gets passed?
Oh yeah, it passed actually last Thursday out of the Senate. And I think the House will probably just pass the bill we have already passed, but it's going to be signed into law. The president's made fighting the opioid crisis a huge priority.
Yeah, yes.
The places he won were places that had been so poorly under the Obama administration, a lot of desperation, a lot of deaths from opioids. And the president recognized that, and he's doing his best to do something about it.
Okay, you got something called an upcoming Service Academy Days around the state. What is that? What is that about?
If a young person is interested in going to one of the military academies, then this is where we have representatives of the military academies there, and you can get your questions answered. We do them around the state, and so the next one's going to be Saturday in Baton Rouge. From 9 to noon. Registration starts about 8:30. Every senator and representative gets 2 appointments to every academy. Mm-hmm. So the ones in Baton Rouge will have representatives from my office, from Kennedy's office, Richmond, Abraham, Graves. All of us will be there, have representatives there to help folks get that one they want next, for them. The one in Baton Rouge this Saturday is going to be right across the street from the new state capitol at the State Museum there. But you can go to my website, cassidy.senate.gov. We're going to be in Bossier. In the following week, we're going to be in Mandeville on the 29th. So we're working around the state. If somebody's interested in attending a military academy, check out our website, cassidy.senate.gov, and get the information they need.
Let me ask you a question. I know you've been involved with the border walls, amnesty, DACA. Do you believe that given amnesty, I'm just asking, people qualify DACA in exchange for a wall a good deal? And the reason I ask that is because if they do that, that's an instant they're citizens versus building a wall over 15, 20 years. Where are you going on this? Where are we going with this? Because I know the president wants a wall, and he said he's not going to sign this next budget deal we're getting ready to go through unless he gets money for a wall. And he said he may do it through the military.
So the president on DACA, the president went to and he said, listen, the kids are here. They came when they were 2 years old. I don't like it, but I'm willing to allow them to stay and have a pathway to citizenship, not instantaneous citizenship, but a pathway to citizenship. But I want a wall. I want to secure the southern border. And it doesn't have to be a wall, the president says. It just has to secure the southern border. Democrats had a great deal, and they turned it down. They hate the president so much, they turned down a great deal. I think the president still has that deal on the table. In terms of funding for the wall, there's been a little bit of funding, not as much as the president wants. My idea is one way to fight the opioid crisis is to confiscate more money going to the cartels. Let's use that money to build the wall. That way it's the Mexican cartels building the wall, not the Mexican government.
Yeah, but do these kids become citizens overnight? I mean, what takes place?
No, not at all.
And do you vote for something? I'm talking anybody. Do you vote for something like that where we get the wall and the wall is really not built for years to come, but they become citizens overnight? That was my concern.
They don't become citizens overnight. Of course, the wall will take time to build, but what people say is that it's not going to be a physical wall the whole distance. If you have a river, you can't really build a wall on a river. So what they are recommending is that in some places there's a wall, and in some places it would be what they use in Afghanistan to track people coming through the mountains, a satellite sort of system. So they've got different ways to monitor, but it would secure the southern border, and that's where the president is right now. But you do not become citizens overnight.
Okay, what are your plans to do with the new budget that McConnell's going to bring forward? Democrats don't mind voting for more deficits and spending, and it seems like McConnell could get more Democrats and just get some Republicans and get the budget passed. What are your concerns? Is this something you'll vote against, or is it what's going to take place? The president act like he's not signing. He said last time he'll let a shutdown take place.
So we voted on a spending bill, which kind of set the limits as to what we would be spending money on a few months ago. I voted against it. The president said he wished he could not sign it, but he signed it anyway. And I just thought it spent too much money. Now it isn't that we are deciding how much to spend. It's we're deciding what the priorities are. And those are the bills coming before us now. The president wants the wall. I don't think he's going to get it before November the 6th. But on the other hand, there could be funding that comes up after the election cycle.
Yeah, and the big
after the midterm elections.
I know the big concern is this. The president has been president for basically about 2 years. He hasn't got a movement on that. If for some reason Republicans were to lose the House, all that's over. It's not going to be any wall. It's not going to be any change, and that's what worries me, that we hadn't helped him deliver on that, I guess. And I felt like we should have delivered that with the budget, with the wall, and things of that nature, because we don't know what's going to happen in the fall. I'd like to believe Republicans are going to hold everything, but if they didn't do it the first 2 years, why are they going to do anything about it in the next 2 years?
Yeah, I can't answer that well. There was a few $1 billion, but not the $20 billion that is needed. I do think ultimately we get increased border security, because the only way Republicans will give a deal, the president will sign a deal on DACA, and again, he's offered a very generous deal, is if he gets more border security. And if Democrats want a deal on DACA, they're going to have to get more border security. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah. One last thing I wanted to visit with you about is pharmacy gag clauses and save patients money on prescription. What is that about exactly?
This is so outrageous, Moon. If your family, normal people, go to the pharmacy and you go present your insurance card, it may be, and quite often is, that the pharmacist cannot tell you that if you paid cash, the prescription would be say for example, $75, but if you pay your insurance copay, it's $100. It's cheaper to pay cash than it is to pay your insurance copay, but the pharmacist by contract is not allowed to tell you. If he does, he loses his whole book of business with that particular insurance company. It's wrong. We're passing a law this week to take care of it on the Medicare patient, and then I think the next week we'll pass one to take care of it for people with private insurance. You've talked about how much your medical costs are.
Yep.
That's just wrong, and we're trying to take care of it.
Yeah, I know there's a big push out there talking about special need or pre-existing conditions. I wonder how all this is going to play into the big picture before it's said and done. All righty. Senator Bill Cassidy. Senator, thank you so much. We'll do it again at another date.
Thank you, Moon.
All right, folks, 22 hours, all I ask you to do. And if you're liberal, hold your breath 22 hours. We'll be back. God bless. Have an awesome day. Tomorrow, hump day? Already? Wow. Time flies by when you're having fun. All right, see you tomorrow, folks. God bless.